Welcome back, I'm Simone from Biim.Games, and today we are going to continue our tutorial. What are we going to do? We are going to place our cards on the battle map. So just to show an example, what we're going to do at the end, when the player gets a card, he can just go and leave the card in one of the area of our tile map. And then in the next episode, we're going to pass this coordinate to our array. But let's start with this part first, and then we'll continue in the next video with the backend, let's say. Okay, we have done already, just to make it a little bit faster, I already replaced the tile map with tiles of 96 by 96 pixels. If you remember, that was the setting we used for the tiles. And I've created these two areas here where the players will start in the next episodes, while the player will fight in this gray area. Also, I have done, I've created a new sprite here, the selector, that we saw before. It was just following the cards to show where we're going to drop the card in the battlefield. And the use card button that was here, I just went on the sprite sheet, layout, sorry. I just drag it here to make a copy, and then I delete it from the board. So this was to save a little bit of time, so I don't have to do all this during the procedure. And let's see, the dimension for the selector is 100 by 100 pixels. The coordinate where I'm living now is -200 minus 200, just outside of the view. Any coordinate will be fine as long as after you remember this for when you go to move out of the way, but we'll see this in a minute. So we start going in the event sheet board, and where we have this condition on drag and drop, let's maybe close everything here to make it a little bit tight. So we have this big block of conditions. This is our big filter. And then here we have on drag and drop, and also we have a show array. Between these two, we are going to create a new block. Okay, and we say cards is dragging. So while this is happening when you in the time that you drag in the card, so every tick is making this check. So we make another sub event, and we say card, if card is overlapping another object, and we are going to select the tile map. Okay, then we say card set size 64 64 by 96. I'm sorry, this is not the best way to do it. You should use a constant or variables for these values, because if one day you need to change these values in everywhere in the program, you don't want to track for each one of these information. But now to do a little bit in a rush, try to do the video a little bit faster, so I just write it this way. Of course, you have to optimize your code as best as you can. Then I put an else, and I copy this condition, and I put to 80 by 120. So what's this one? This is the normal coordinate, the normal dimension of our card is 80 by 120 pixels. So well, we want that when we drag the card, as you saw in the video, it becomes a little bit smaller, so it fits perfectly in the size of the tile. Our tile, I remember, is 96 by 96 pixels. Therefore, this is the height is the largest side of our card, and at 96 it will be just fitting right. So when the card is on top of the tile map, we want to reduce its size, and when it is outside the tile map, it go back to normal size. So I just show you quickly to have a better idea. When I pick a card, this normal size, if you see when I go on the tile map, it becomes smaller, and I want to go out of the tile map, become again big. So that's it. That's why. Okay. At this point, inside the condition on drag and drop, we have this when the card is overlapping, use card, and then the else. In the else, we add this condition that we put here. So basically, when we drop the card and it's outside the screen, so if you go first on the layout, on the tile map, the card becomes small. Then if you go out, we want that the card become big, and we saw it here. But what happens if I leave the card on the tile map and is not overlapping the use card? At the moment we stay there and it's small, but in this case we just resize it. We see this in 1 minute. So basically, if the card is not placed on the board, it goes back on the end of the player with the right side. So at this stage, now we're going to create a new array map. Insert new object, array. This is the array where we are going to store all the coordinates for the battle grid. And we set the size to 8 by 7 because this is the size of the tile map. Now we go on the start layout. We make a new sub event because at the start of the layout we want to set this value, the array map, as empty. Normally it's 0, but since we have a card that starts with value of 0, then it will look like every time we put a card and we record the number of the card on the array map, it will be full of cards number 0. We don't want this. So to don't get confused, we just say that array map at the beginning is full of values of -1. So to do this, array map, let's say for each element, so we just go through all the array, both on X and Y. We want to set the values of -1. Therefore we go on here, add action, array map, set at X and Y, and here we type array map dot cur X, and here array map dot cur Y, and the value is -1. So basically cur X and cur Y are the loop index, let's say, of the array that is going through all the values of X and Y. So it's just basically two loops inside each other, and they give -1 to the value. That's it. Okay, now we go back here on this block where we have on drag and drop, and we disable this for the moment. And inside this other block, the new one where we just created, when a card is dragging, we add in this sub event another action, sorry, as a selector, set position to card.x, card.y. I could use set position to another object and then card, but I need this way because I'm going to change it. So just to show you what's happening. And here on the else, we say selector, set position to, in my case, -200, -200. And wherever you want that is out of the view. Basically, when we drag the card, if the card is on the top of the tile map, we want the selector to highlight where we're going to drop the card. Otherwise, if the card is not on top of the tile map, we just hide the selector. And I'm going to show you now what's happening. First I save as usual, and I run the game. So for now, we create a card, and the selector appears as soon as we go overlapping on the tile map, and we disappear when we go out. And when I leave the card, it stays. Okay, so this is what we've done until now. So we can continue. Okay, now, as you can see, I'll show you just again. As you can see here, the selector is not actually snapping on the exactly cell of the grid or our tile map. So we want that this red area of the selector just stay in this part or this part or this part, exactly aligned, and not something in between, because we are not going to put the card between two cells. Maybe next time I will just draw the lines for the battle grid to make it more clear where the grids are, the cells are, and therefore will be easier to understand. But I think you understand that I can leave the card here because it's between this cell and this one. So that's what we're going to try to fix now. And that's why I say that this value was going to change. Now, if you have seen the previous video for the tile map, you shouldn't have a problem about this. But if you don't remember, or if you haven't checked that video, I will recommend you to go to see that series, or that there are just 3 videos about tile map, so you know what we're going to do now. I'm not going to explain in details what I'm doing, so that's why you might want to check out the previous video. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this action here, and I replace this one. So I can disable this for the moment because I want to show you the difference. And we're going to replace this with tile map dot position to tile x of card dot x. Same thing for this one, but for the y. So basically, in the previous video, we were using the coordinate of the mouse to get the position of the tile. This time we are going to use the one of the card. That is basically the same thing. We use the origin of the card. And remember also the origin of the selector is the same in the middle as the card, so that's why I haven't done any particular condition between these two to recalculate. And then we test. This is not the final thing to do, but I just want to show the steps to why we're going to do what we are going to do in the next actions. So what have we done now, using the same condition we did in the past. When I take a card, you can see that now it's on this corner, our selector, and when we move it, the card, you can see that the selector is moving slowly by slowly. This because basically it's taking the coordinate, the values of the tile, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and therefore maybe it's like the value of the tile is 4, for example, and it moves of 4 pixels. So that's not what we want, because it's moving, translating the number of the tile in pixel or coordinate for the selector. Well, we want the selector to snap on this grid here, so that's not the solution. We can't use the same solution as before. So now we go back here on our program, and then I'm going to show basically sorry, and add in here one new condition, text, set text. I'm going to copy. I just copy this one, it's easier, so we can have a visual feedback of what's happening. Okay, so we show this value here, and new line, and we can just show on the new line the y. Shift enter, you can make a new line if you use construct 2. With construct 3 I don't think it's working. That's a little bit of pity because it makes a little bit things clear when you type. Okay, and we start again. As you can see now, text is changing, and it shows you the coordinate of the tile. In this case, this is 0, 0, and this is the x is 1, and the y is 0, and so on. So that's why this is moving just 1 pixel at a time, because we pass in these values here, so just few pixels. And that's why we're going to change it. If we can use the same formula as last time, we need to put a different condition. So we're going to duplicate again this. I just leave it here so you can just check what's the difference. And we're going to change this one, this coordinates here. So we just double click, tilemap dot get rid of this position to tile x and replace with snap x of card x. And then you do the same thing here with y, snap y. So this will retrieve a different information. They're just going to directly write it here, so you can check what's happening. And new line, and show all these values, and then you can compare. So it's easy to understand what's happening. Okay, when we change with y, and we start. Test. Today we have a lot of tests because many things to show. Now when I drag the card, see, I get this, basically it transforms the coordinate of the tile. So basically transform the coordinate of the x in coordinate of the tile, and the 4 go back and change it in real coordinate, but it snap. You can see from one tile to another thanks to this formula. So this is what we're going to use. Why these two values here, the first two, are the values we're going to use in the next video to record the position of the card in the array map. So we know which card is in which tile. So this is what we want to do, but there is still a little problem to fix. As you can see, this translating the closer coordinate to the tile is not stay on the tile because it's not bounded by the edge of the tile map, the selector, and we need to put some boundary. As you can see, this problem is going out the selector on all the sides. And then we're going to fix this part here now. So to fix this part, we are going to add a new condition here. In addition to the card to be overlapping, we want the card is inside that cell's coordinate, cell there's values. So add another value, system, compare two values. And the first one is tile map dot position to tile x of card dot x. Okay, this has to be equals or greater than 0. Because if you remember, I just show you again, once again. When I go out here, this value become -1. So I want that this is happening when this value here is 0 or higher. So it's here 0 or higher. Same thing will be for the y. And also we want to limit this value, since we have the array that is y that is 7. We don't want that it's happening when it's 8, the value. So we're going to limit in this way. And then we copy this, and we do now, it has to be smaller than array map dot width. I remember width also always 1 point more than actually the real value of the last cell. So that's why it's minus that value. It will be straightforward. And then we copy again these two, and we change basically the x with the y. Leave it everything as it is, but on this last condition, rather than the width, we're going to check the height, because it might be different value, like in our case. I don't know in your case, but that's for us. So better always to check the proper value. You never know if you're going to change. So we started, and let's see. And now, as you can see, everything is working quite fine. No problem at all. Okay. So this is for the snapping of our selector. It's working fine. It just stay where it's supposed to stay. So now for the drag and drop, we're going to enable this again, because we want to drop the card and something happen. We're going to duplicate the block where say card is overlapping use card. So I copy this part here. I'm going to disable this part because we don't need it. And I'm going to replace overlapping card with the tile map. Okay. At this point, we are going to disable destroy card. We can just delete it, but just disable for you to remember what's the changing. And then we say new condition card, set position to another object, and we select selector image point 0. As I said before, the origin of both of them is in the middle, so we don't care about this. I just put it on top here. I'm going to show what's the difference now. Okay. So as you can see now, if I leave the card, it snaps exactly where the selector is, and then pass the turn, and I can do the same thing with the other player. Every time it just pass the turn, because that's how we did the code until now. I can just go to take any more the card because I changed past the turn, but I can move the card of the other player when it's the turn of the other player. So now this player has the card number 22. I can move it, as you can see. So that's it for now. I hope the video was useful for you. As usual, you give me a big favor if you can help me to share this video around, because it means I have more free time to make a new content for you. And if you find it useful, or as usual, all the stuff, like, subscribe, and so on. I see you for the next video. So where we're going to do the code part, actually we're going to save the coordinate of these cards in our array, and therefore then we can make more interesting things very soon. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.